We all kind of want to be the smartest person in the room, right? But psychology throws us a massive and deeply ironic curveball here. Assuming you've got it all figured out is actually one of the loudest signs of low intelligence. So today, we're uncovering 5 psychological signs that you might not be quite as smart as you think.
Okay, let's dive into this. For the longest time, society has fed us this absolute myth that intelligence is just about what you know. You know the drill, memorizing random facts or just totally dominating a trivia night. But the reality is far more dynamic. True intelligence is really about how you think. It shows up in how you handle a curveball idea at work or whether you're genuinely willing to challenge your own deeply held beliefs. True smarts aren't static. They are highly, highly active.
And that brings us right to our first major cognitive trap, the trap of certainty.
Psychology literally has a name for this: overconfidence bias. It's really often tied to the Dunning-Kruger effect. You might have heard of it. It's that fascinating and, honestly, slightly terrifying phenomenon where limited knowledge actually creates a false sense of certainty. If you walk around assuming you're correct most of the time, you're likely dealing with pretty low mental flexibility. Basically, the less you know about a topic, the more certain you feel that you've completely mastered it. If you almost never doubt yourself, well, there's a very good chance you are completely overlooking crucial information.
Which leads right into our second sign. How do you react when someone proves you wrong? Listen, changing your mind isn't a weakness. Actually, scratch that. It is an undeniable sign of growth. Intelligent people automatically adjust their beliefs when convincing new evidence pops up. But if you find yourself clinging to a dead-end strategy at work just to protect your pride, or maybe because you desperately want to win an argument, you're engaging in rigid thinking. And rigid thinking puts a hard, fast stop on personal improvement.
All right, moving on to sign number 3, the psychological dangers of becoming a shallow thinker.
And this brilliantly illustrates a huge red flag: the word always. Whenever you hear someone using absolute words to describe layered, really complex topics, like saying my boss is always wrong or this department always fails, alarms should be going off in your head. It is a major indicator that nuanced thought has completely left the building.
The exact same goes for the word never. Life is rarely just black or white. When you reduce complex societal issues or a really complicated personal relationship to a single absolute word like never, you strip away all the necessary nuance that genuine intelligence absolutely requires to function. Most situations have layers, and ignoring them, it's a really dangerous mental habit.
But here is the absolute worst offender of them all. It's obvious. We all have that one friend who uses this phrase just to magically end an argument, right? But declaring things to be obvious is the ultimate oversimplification trap. The second you declare something obvious, boom, you immediately shut down the critical analysis needed for real, deep understanding. If it's obvious, well, there's nothing left to figure out. And that is exactly where learning dies.
That directly connects to our 4th sign: you rarely ask questions. Why and how should be your 2 best friends here. Curiosity is literally one of the strongest traits linked to actual intelligence. Think of little kids. They ask why 100 times a day because they are the ultimate learners. People who stop asking these fundamental questions remain completely stuck with a surface-level view of the world. Curiosity is the fuel that keeps the brain expanding. Now let's shift gears to the 5th and final destructive habit on our list: playing the blame game.
So the crucial point is how we handle it when problems actually arise in life. This habit kicks in when you consistently place the responsibility on everyone else. And yes, absolutely, sometimes outside circumstances are genuinely out of your control. But if your default setting is to constantly blame others, it reveals a severe lack of self-awareness. You basically become a passive passenger in your own life instead of the driver taking the wheel.
Okay, let's just slow down for a second here. Identifying the problem is only half the battle, right? We need the solution. And psychology provides us with the ultimate antidote to these cognitive traps. It's called metacognition. Simply put, metacognition is the ability to reflect on your own thoughts and actions. It's thinking about how you think. It's pausing before sending that really angry email to ask yourself, wait, why am I actually reacting this way? Or is my belief here based on facts or just pure emotion? If you never examine yourself, your learning drastically slows down. Without metacognition, you completely miss the opportunity to grow and evolve. Let's do a really quick rundown to lock this all in. Watch out for these 5 limiters in your daily life: overconfidence, stubbornness, oversimplifying complex issues, losing your curiosity, and blaming others. These detrimental habits don't just hold back your career or your social success, they quite literally shrink the very way your brain processes the world around you. Which brings us to this incredibly powerful realization. Sometimes the strongest sign of low intelligence is never realizing it's there. Psychology makes it abundantly clear.
True intelligence isn't about looking smart to the people around you. It's about thinking critically, adapting when needed, and possessing the sheer courage to stay open to questioning yourself.
So I want to leave you with one final, deeply personal question. Be totally honest with yourself right now. Which of these habits do you notice in yourself? It takes real intelligence to look in the mirror and critically examine your own mind. Take a moment today to do just that. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning everything.